Hey guys, Connor here from Kamerastore.com, and today we're going to be covering the Plaubel Makina 670 as well as the related cameras in the system. These are folding or collapsing 6x7 rangefinders that all have focus rings up here on the thumb. They're 120 obviously. They all have Nikon lenses. The 6.7 and the 670 both have Nikon 80mm f2.8s, and the 6.7W has a 55mm f4.5 Nikon lens as well. So I've never shot this camera before, so this is sort of a first impressions video as well as a little bit of a review, but I'm excited to take it out. It's a beautiful day here in Tampere, so let's get going. So today I'll be shooting Portra 800. I'll be shooting it at 400 because we're going to go into the woods. We'll have a little bit of shadows, but 800 gives us the versatility to kind of shoot in any condition with bright sunlight. So to extend the Makina 670, you're going to press this button here and then just pull it out till it clicks. So right there I was using the built-in light meter, which is powered by two LR44 batteries and is activated by pressing this button here on the back. So that definitely saves some battery power as opposed to the half press of the shutter. You can really only use it when you need it. So one interesting thing to note about the 670, the newer version, versus the original 6.7 is that it is a double stroke advance, so you have to pull it twice after every shot instead of just once. Assumedly they did this because it just lasted longer that way. So this camera actually has a pretty interesting history. Plaubel is a pretty famous German company that had been making folding medium format rangefinders for about 40 years, from the early 1900s to about the 1950s. Then they stopped for a while until the name was bought by a Japanese company, Doi, D-O-I, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, in 1975. And then they wanted to make a new folding 6x7 camera with a Nikon lens that was very important to them. So the first try they had this called Makin-A that had a pop-up viewfinder and some other interesting features that ended up being a little too interesting to actually produce. So they actually contacted Konica to come up with the design for a new camera. So there was a Konica designer who reached out to a German designer to collaborate. And this was the result, or the original Makina 6.7 was the result. That came out in 1979 and was actually produced by Optima for the first number of years. And then Mamiya took over production and produced the vast majority of those models, this and the 6.7W. One interesting thing is that this camera, and the older version especially, shares a pretty shocking resemblance with a smaller Agfa compact camera, the Optima sensor series. And it looks like a big brother, little brother kind of situation, but the reason for that is that the German designer of the original 6.7 went to the same school as the designer of the Agfa. So there was maybe a little bit of classroom cheating going on, but yeah, the two cameras ended up looking quite similar. And that's why you see the second version of this and the wide version is a bit different. It has these ribs and some other small design changes that kind of differentiate the two cameras. So the Makina is a pretty interesting camera. Obviously all 6x7 rangefinders are kind of premium products, but this is especially premium, competing pretty directly with sort of the Mamiya 7. And the Fuji rangefinders a little bit, but the Mamiya 7 is a pretty good comparison. This is obviously a non-interchangeable lens, collapsing model, so you get a little bit more compactness, maybe a little bit more portability, although the Mamiya 7 is also very portable. But that folding nature is sort of a pro and a con in that it folds, it's more compact, but also maybe a little bit more susceptible to damage, a little bit less weather resistant. So there's pros and cons, but these are premium products that normally command premium prices. Yeah, sort of a boutique option in medium format. So I'm going to take a portrait of my cameraman Nico here, just to show you that f2.8 is a little bit too narrow for a rangefinder like this, especially one the rangefinder distance isn't super long, so it's hard to be super precise. But it gives you that really smooth, creamy out of focus background that people really like. Cool. So the big question is, how is it to shoot? And what are some interesting things that you might need to know before you go out shooting with yours? Well, it's a leaf shutter camera, so your shutter speed range is limited to 1 second to 1/500th of a second. So in some situations, you might need to stop down the aperture quite a bit more than you would with other cameras. Another interesting thing that you'll need to know is that this focus dial is up here, not on the lens. And the minimum focus distance, because it's a rangefinder, isn't the best. It's 1 meter, which is pretty standard for rangefinders, but if you're used to an SLR, you're going to be able to get a lot closer with that than you will with this. One thing that is important to know, before you close the camera, you have to set it to infinity focus before you compact it back down. Otherwise, you risk breaking a cable in here that controls the light meter. The good thing is that because it's a mechanical camera, breaking the light meter is only breaking the light meter. The shutter will still work, the camera will still be fine. You'll just need an external meter. So not life-threatening, but not ideal. So just be careful and be sure to set it to infinity before you close the camera. So one interesting thing to note is that the negatives that the Makina makes actually have curved edges. So you may have noticed that in some of the pictures we've been putting in the video until now. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. Some people might think it's a nice look. You do probably have to crop if you want square corners. So you might lose a little bit on the edges. But yeah, you end up with rounded edges, which is pretty unique. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like this type of content, let us know. We liked making it, and we'd love to do more, and let us know what you'd like us to cover. This Makina and thousands of other cameras are available on Kamerastore.com. This will probably be gone by the time this video goes live, but we do have them pretty consistently. The best way to learn when we have new products is to sign up for our email list. We'll put a link down in the description for that. Otherwise, have a great day. Thanks for watching. I ran out of film. Oh, set it to infinity. Don't forget.